as all the people concerned now are having, and I've been having this war since 2009 or earlier. It's quite probable that I've been having this war all my life, only when I was a child it was of a different kind. So certain things were arranged, and then they already knew that, well, it will come up at one point. And this is a real situation. I just had a look in the mirror to see how much of a nightmare I present today, or daymare, and it's pretty bad. I can't smile because when I smile, it's an immediate, and no, not eternal. I don't want an eternal term, turns on, turn ons, turns on, or turns offs, not the category. Um, but generally, in Scientology they have it. You have attraction, and the opposite is, what do they call it? I don't know, but when you basically have this impact that makes somebody be like thrown away immediately. It just bumps off or something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, so I'm having this war, and this war is devastating. This I've been speaking of it in a light tone, but it's actually tragic, and this is death, worse than death. But you all know it. I mean, the people concerned, and that has changed my attitude to all sorts of people. But certain things are coming up, and I'm quite confused with that all. One thing is certain, I don't think it's only Alexandra Kicha who has stolen my life. I believe there are more people involved, and it might be not only Maya Rostowska, apart from Ola Kicha even. So if we talk about levels, there's the level of Ola Kicha, then there's the level of Maya Rostowska, but I believe that actually one of the Rothschild family, it seems a man, but I believe it can be a woman who is still not in the spotlight, has stolen my life, and that's how I'm in big trouble now. So when I was totally insignificant and no one knew about my existence apart from some people that were in the secret, I could have my life whatever it was, and I was living my life. But then when I started my comments, especially my political comments, and they were quite a breakthrough. For instance, my comment on my participation in the chat with Jerzy Buzek, who was the president of the European Union at the time, and my comment on Tibet, where whatever comment on Tibet is spotted immediately by the Chinese special forces. And it was a powerful comment. Actually, it was an address, an appeal, 2010, around my birthday, so around the 27th of September, I think it was sometime earlier. There's a recording in YouTube of the text. Basically, I stopped being anonymous. I mean, anonymous and insignificant. And then, as the situation developed and all sorts of things were coming into play, especially the war, I had to come up to the enemy. So when David Rothschild became my enemy, then I really had to mobilize the power. Of course, this is not a comparable power in terms of standard thinking of power, but my inner spiritual strength. And that that changes the situation, um, where quite many were interested in wiping Agnieszka out. Sadly, there came up the crime committed against my mom, where my mom's body was the evidence. And it's also unclear what it really was. My mom's identity is unclear. Um, I believe that the problem started early in her early childhood, and as my grandma, and the wartime, where my grandma was taken to prison with her mom. Her mom was 16. My grandma was 16 when her mom died, and left her alone. It was a camp prison, not a prison for those who are guilty of anything, but simply the standard war operations concerning citizens. It's also not quite clear. Well, apparently it's about Volksdeutsch or something like that, but I'm not sure what's behind really. And apparently, I mean reportedly, some people from our family are involved, and that's another quite tricky situation, because the grandson of the person who is involved probably then has definitely worked against me in the recent years, going back to 2013, when I asked him to help me with the laptop. He's probably an Assangeist, as all the people who are very good at computers and work in programming, etc. are, or most of them, certainly functions in the environment. This is Agnieszka from the communist regime. I'm not a part of the regime, but this was the country I was born in 1974. And I've been going through all those things. Apparently, to all appearances, Great Britain has taken part in the process of demolition or devastation. I was quite naive. I'm still very naive, to put it straight. But I don't call it. I'm not quite stupid. Although I do seem pretty stupid in so many situations. But I believe it's connected with my personality and my nature overall. I simply believe in some things, and I don't want any other word. And I've been living this way in the belief that somehow it changes something on the spiritual plane. But it has turned out that I'm quite alone in all that. Basically right now the loneliness I feel is the greatest of all, I guess, with so many people here, but they are all my enemies and there's no understanding really with anyone. So all those forces right now are united against me, and some have been working on blocking me as long as I do not move forward too much, and then once I move forward on stopping me and then squashing me if I'm too loud. And I have been very loud. I believe they could hear me a few kilometers away when I went through my series of screamings on the balcony. They were of all sorts. But I had the belief that somewhere there among the people with some noble people and now I don't have that image. Well, perhaps they were noble ones, but then I believe right now we are at the level of the memoirs of the survival by Doris Lessing. So it's no longer, the little children with the Lord of the Flies. It's no longer the Brave New World. Incidentally, I'm pretty much like Miranda. It's not exactly, I mean, I was pretty much like Miranda. I have been disillusioned. Uh, so, all those beautiful people do not seem to me so when I see them for the first time now, but I still fall into traps. Um, um, it's also not 1984. It's much worse. I mean, the people, what's been done to human natures, and a lot of that is manipulation. But I know that it is not only manipulation. So I know this is in people. I must say that when the torture continued, I did indeed, it's me. I did go into those movements of fighting with all sorts of swords, daggers, etc. I have it in my, it is in my brain. I'm not sure if I would be able to execute it on a real man, but the this this is going in the direction of a fighter really. Only I don't have those modern ways. I'm still like Three Kingdoms. What was it? Awakening of the Dragon, something like that. I always think of this woman, the granddaughter. So that's the way I think of it. That one day I will be the granddaughter, or or some granddaughter comes. Except that I can't have children due to what they have done to my body, which is one of the central points of the war I'm having with the civic platform. It started with the civic platform, and then the Law and Justice, Prawo i Sprawiedliwość have joined in. Unless it started with the Law and Justice actually, because when I was working for the Veronese Gallery outlet in Kazimierz, which is a Jewish district in Krakow, there came a man, and I'm pretty sure that it was Zbigniew Wasserman. I was not certain if it was Zbigniew Wasserman at the time because he did not look exactly as he did on TV. But now I know that the camera changes a lot. So I think that it was really him. And it might have started with him then. His daughter is a politician too. She's also a lawyer. So she might be the first who was to be protected. Well, I even voted for her for the president of Krakow, but then I have understood that it does not work two ways. So, but we went to the Holy Mass together. Well, I mean not together, but to the same Holy Mass once, and that was Corpus Christi. There was a procession afterwards, and as we were walking, I had this sudden perception of people walking as if in Auschwitz, except that I don't think they walked that way in Auschwitz. But and the sky was very dark at one point, almost black, and I felt that we all were, marked, so to say. So I have been having all those perceptions, but that can be also misleading. That's the reality overall. And as for the children, it might be that I actually have some, only I don't know about them, because I guess that people have had access to my body earlier, and I do believe that they might have stolen my, um, or whatever you call it in English, and some children might have been produced that way. And also, I was to have 3 children, and I'm not sure if they are here now. It probably is better for them if they are not. Um, the thing is that my relationship with um, my husband is very important for me. So I have always believed that I had a husband. I mean, initially, I was waiting for my great love. That was always to be one. But then I always at one point I started believing that I had a husband in the previous life. And when I started thinking in those terms, and I was waiting, I was looking for him and waiting for him. And I believe that it should have crossed lifetimes, and that also formed my attitude to men, because I had some expectations, and on the other hand, I did not accept their expectations, which are so natural for most women. I had never been treated that way, and I cannot imagine I could bear with it. And so I'm pretty weird in that respect. But what I want to say really is that this is very important for me. So the fact that I have been connected to, and probably there's the intention of making a couple of me and some guy whose name I don't know, whose face I don't know. I don't know where he comes from. I think he comes from the world of prostitution, because it's probably um, um, connected with the fact that they have stolen my identity and they have put a different identity into my body. I don't know how it works, because I don't know the technical details. So overall, this is a war on the spiritual level, even worse than the war we had with the whore and virgin thing, where I am a virgin and I had been attacked by a horse. So this is not the other way around. And my best friend was a perfect slut, I would say, quite desperate, looking for whoever through sympathy. We are having a war too, so that's why I'm so bitchy right now. I'm terrible. I'm very terrible. If I did not know myself, I would hate myself truly. Unless I were a bitch too. Then I would probably like, well, no, that was not good enough. Something better, something stronger. Right. So, um, of course, the question of Anna Grodzka takes it even further. But there have been some recent shocking um, I don't know what to call it, um, but new uh, there has been a new perspective revealed recently. And this is insane for me. This is truly insane for me. So I'm at a loss overall with all that has been going on. And I think that I have made some decisions regardless. So one of the decisions concerns not doing more lessons. The celebrities and stars and perhaps artists let's put it this way. Artists certainly have not deserved that much attention from me. But then, I mean, when I buy records or tapes, I don't see how someone can say, well, you cannot listen to them. I mean, I have paid for them, so why can't I listen to them? You don't need to like me, but I can listen to the music I want to listen to. I had this really great project in mind, which was to travel up to Michael Jackson, heal the world. By the end of the course, the students were to be prepared to discuss all those subjects at ease, having the proper vocabulary, having the proper confidence, and having the proper ability to think independently. Which is probably the reason why I have been so much attacked as a teacher. I have never gone to my pupils what other teachers do. That is, I have never, even when I was the head teacher responsible for upbringing, I did not show myself as the example to be followed and shape my pupils accordingly. Surely some of my values were emphasized. There was one pupil who, the former teacher responsible for the class, the 5th grade, 12-year-olds, didn't like the fact that she talked during her lessons. Well, perhaps I was more lenient about it because I talked during my lessons too. But overall, she was always excellent for me because she was an enormous help in our tuition, peer tuition meetings, where pupils would teach pupils. She was actually someone I could. I felt it spiritually, and she's actually responsible for me going through all the hell I have had with the Roman Catholic Church and coming back to the point where I took it again as my own responsibility, because she was a Christian. I don't know if she's still, but then she was this point, this anchor point of faith alive. What was I arriving at? So obviously I emphasized the fact that she was such a great person in helping her friends and her classmates learn. Not only her, but she had a difficult job of working with the boy who would put his shoes on a desk in front of her nose, and she was still able to teach him afterwards, which is greatness. In a 12-year-old, certainly it is. And I decided to leave it at the point of aha, that blood that moves the body. I have been so inspired. Oh my God, where I have been traveling, you have no idea. But I think that it is quite a good point to leave it, because we have the song, the blood that moves the body, and I have given you quotes from Shakespeare, which is my area. I wrote my MA thesis on Othello. Love is a war, as a metaphor defining the world of Othello. So this is where we really meet. And you have the song, and I answer with those quotes from Shakespeare. I don't remember exactly the context, and I also think I don't know one of the places. I have much more quotes. I have quotes from politicians, and I also have different quotes there to put it in the context. I have quotes from poets. Generally, it starts with the blood, and it's just one starting point for the lesson. So there are many more areas that I wanted to travel to, something to do with light, with darkness. I remember this line, save the darkness, or something like that. Anyway, so I was just creating this word, but then you know, your attitude to me is quite different, which makes that sort of common life difficult. I'm not the person who will go through humiliation and through general hostility, hatred, just like that, and wow, nothing happened, because I should have been loved. And I don't mean sex. Uh, and it's very, very sad and depressing for me, not only due to the consequences, but due to the factuality of it having happened. I don't understand it. And even if we go in different directions, because I'm becoming more and more aware of it, you are the left wing, you will fight for it. You probably believe in it. I don't. I don't believe people are equal. And it's not about where you were born, really. But I must be honest, I have lost my war. Because, well, perhaps not war. I did not think of it in terms of a war, but it was certainly my fight. Because I have invested in those people, and they have turned against me, and my current situation is directly related to the fact that I was so devoted to them. If I had been devoted to those rich people and those status happy children, I have been devoted to some of them too, but the focus was obviously on those underprivileged. So that's probably why they have put me in the left wing category. Mm, but overall, after what's been done to me, I can see, I mean, they have shown their natures, and I'm afraid you have shown your nature too, perhaps. Though it's not clear. Anyway, let's leave it at this point as far as my lessons are concerned. So you have the song and I have the Shakespeare. Without the lesson, just the quotes and translations into Polish. I decided to stick to Słonczyński because this is where I started. When I was in the primary school, I read my first Shakespeare's play, that was Julius Caesar, and I read it because I had watched Julius Caesar, one of those great Hollywood productions. And I loved it so much that I wanted to learn more about Julius Caesar. So I reached for the first book on the shelf. It belonged to my stepfather. And I found William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. So I started reading it and I loved it, and then I started reading poems. So quite a different beginning in Shakespeare. And I decided to learn English so that I could read Shakespeare in the original. The people I have been connected to have nothing to do with my overall level, with my life, etc. And it is unforgivable. What's been done to me is totally unforgivable. And I don't only mean the consequences that what's been done to my mom, what will be done to me, but the very fact that someone could have been connecting me to such people. The young man, he's probably younger than me, is totally unacceptable, no doubt about it. And then there are other factors involved. I'm having the war with Tom Cruise, I believe, which is quite insane for me. I think he must have had some false auditing, because he must have, I don't know, he must have had some damage to his brain, because it takes an enormous idiot to change the friendly attitude and the support, the spiritual, especially the spiritual support and the power of my potential into a karmic enemy. So it really takes an idiot. But you know, the Sea Org is there. Mm, so I have been thinking about lifelines, and that's in terms of general information as I'm living. Well, I certainly need to move out of politics by the time um, Biden takes over the power. It will be a very difficult time for me. I cannot imagine what would happen to me unless they will have done it by that time. Um, so I need to be out by that time. And I believe that I will focus on my real life. That is, I stay at home most of the time. I will look for my, I will read my books, and I will write. And the nice certainly are writing. So I believe I will take all my love wealth, all my love life, and it will live in my books, poems or poetic dramas, or short novels, short stories. I don't know yet. I see. I will go for the poet. That's certain. Well, I don't want to put the real people there. They will probably have inspiration. But when I get really angry, I will take all those men and I will create a totally different personalities out of them. Personalities of my dreams. Create a story out of them. I don't know, but generally that's how I see it. With what's been done to me, I certainly have no chance for whatsoever relationships, and it does not only concern relationships with men, it also concerns relationships with people in general. Not even a friendship is possible right now, and not even, an acquaintance, because it all turns into damage and hatred within days. Um, I will be studying. um, and if I look at those lifelines, well, in music, I don't think I'll be traveling with Modern Talking, because I believe that he is really singing about doing harm on purpose, like a promise. So I think I will leave Modern Talking out. Um, Shaking Stevens is also quite threatening. I mean, imagine becoming a fan of someone else. Mm. And I have always loved so many people in my life. So, um, and mm, the, I have a hard, because shaking still as a hammer than talking in the primary school. And then I have moved to Ricky Martin, Jennifer Lopez, Cher, and Natalia Oreiro. I don't have any records by Natalia Oreiro. I have only some of her songs in other records. But I watched the the Angel. I don't know what's the translation, but the Argentinian series and Cachorra. So I was really Natalia Oreiro was really my favorite, which she has used against me too, I believe. And as far as Ricky Martin is concerned, that's insanity totally. Um, but then we have a problem because, to be honest, I don't support gay people bringing up children. So, and this is quite fundamental, I believe. This is his life after all. So, and then there's the question of the people who actually are in his, uh, who are actually performing the songs. So this is not the same person, obviously. So who is who, and what is really going on? Um, I think that Jennifer Lopez has had quite a share in turning me into that fat, disgusting swine, which is unforgivable. And more than that. And Cher is, I the first memory of Cher I have is Mask, the Mask. She was playing the mother of this boy with the face, and this is how I remember her. And then there's a problem with her because her work is definitely not my work. But on the other hand, I had a lot of love for general climate, atmosphere, climate. I don't know how to call it. I had a lot of love for gypsies, um, but it has also become a war. Uh, and there's the additional anti-Semitic issue involved. Um, so it all generally breaks down, mm, even without Alexandra Kitsch and the Sea Org. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen to music. Perhaps I will not listen to it at all. But I'm emphasizing it once again. I have bought the records, and I have bought the tapes. And they are mine, so I can listen to them without any consequences. Um, but then I believe that I will keep my idea. I mean, whatever I have got through some kind of field, whichever field it was, concerning Norway, for instance, I believe it will stay with me, and the same concerns gypsies. Even the problem with gypsies is actually even more difficult because one gypsy wanted to curse me so that I would lose a child when I am pregnant. I mean, she actually did curse me when I was still a child. And it seems that I I don't know, I would have to be living somehow pretending the world does not exist or something. Generally pretending the people who are in my body do not exist. It needs to be emphasized that I am connected to the people whom I totally don't accept. For example, there's a strike, women's strike in Krakow, and I have nothing to do with their ideology, with the messages, with the purpose. Or perhaps you would agree If the politics were done differently, perhaps we could be cooperating in some in some areas. Then it would be really strong because that would be the woman from that side and the woman from that side. Well, we certainly agree that women are not to beg on their knees for whatever favor from men and call it a favor in the first place. So we certainly agree that we have um, certain rights, but I do not think of abortion in those terms. And I'm certainly against abortion, but I said it honestly. If I were raped, I would. Well, perhaps it depends on who would rape me, but generally, I cannot imagine um, having the child at all. So there are more people like that, and the whole prostitution world is totally unacceptable. So I believe this whole area somehow, I know. Um, what can you do with it? Like, um, pretend it doesn't exist, um, and reading your books if one can. It will certainly live in my writings because it's a part of my life. So um, this somehow um, gets interwoven into the general development of personality. Even when I was, yeah, that perhaps I could posit this. Um, so otherwise, I have always been a religious person, and I will continue my um, work, perhaps not as a work, but my interest in religions: Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and then Scientology. That's how they came into my life. But I put Scientology in brackets. I'm more traditional, to be honest. I don't like modernity. And as far as Christianity is concerned, well, I do need to solve, um, somehow resolve the questions I have concerning the church. So there's a lot of reading and thinking in front of me. And the religion is also composed into my way of life, which I have modified a bit. I have added that I have already had poetry, literature, fine arts there, philosophy too, I think history. I have added music and nature. I believe that was the missing element. um, then another thing connected with it is the another line is the what I have arrived at is the spiritual history of the world. So it changes also because it has become I have become a participant of it, and so the perception is slightly different now. And then foreign languages, of course. Overall, after all I have written up, mm, there's also probably I will start the next year from um, reading for my idea of reading and teaching literature. I was to stay at the university and teach English literature. I have been departing from England But now, if you talk about if you may, if I was made to think about lifelines, then mine was teaching English literature at the university, and there's no doubt about it. Um, so I might resume it somehow and create a world of my own here. Only reading, not for teaching maybe, but somehow develop the whole philosophy of, perhaps I could put it that way. Um, Overall, it leaves us with um, my poetic poems, philosophical texts, other texts, for example, the whole problem of the Roman Catholic Church with relation to the faith, what's going on, which is why I still have priests and popes in my life. I have bought a calendar for 2021 with John Paul II. I decided I need him for that work, for all that thinking. And as far as the way of life goes, that will be probably covered by philosophical texts and other things like that, and drawing. And I believe that, and languages, of course. Well, I need to have all that in many languages. I have also been thinking of what was I thinking of? Oh, it has escaped again, probably to someone else's mind. Aha, I know. I've been also thinking of resuming the name Agnipolitania. I mean, calling my queendom Agnipolitania again, because Onestia is very Roman. Naturally, it's in the name. Uh, so, um, and that was really the focus, because I wanted to get closer to the Roman Catholic Church, but it didn't work too well. I mean, I have learned a lot, and I have seen a lot of problems. Um, but Omnipolitania opens different words too, and I need those words for life. Of course, it's virginal, so it has nothing to do with what's been done to it as a total damage. And I believe that's all.